Step 1 of how to use scaffolding and effectively. You need to build a nice section for it. A very specific sized section for it. Because scaffolding can only reach 8 blocks before it needs to send a new pillar down, you have to play into that effectively. So what you do is you make a wall, right? And you're going to count. So from your wall, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then put a wall. And then obviously extend the wall all the way down. Anyways, now that you have your border all sectioned off, your 8 blocks sectioned off, it doesn't matter if there's any blocks sticking in the way, just make sure that the maximum span between one wall and the other is 8 blocks. Then, before you put all your sand away, pick a corner, preferably the corner that has the longest, straightest span. And this will be important. Just, doesn't really matter whether or not you do it this way, it's just, I find it easier. Just the longest, straightest span. So if there's blocks in the way, you know, if there's like a nether fortress here, maybe you would go over here instead. Just put sand in a corner. And then go put all your sand away and grab some scaffolding. And now we're going to start the formation of the outer scaffolding supports. So step 1 is going to be to go down on your sand pillar and start placing. And you're going to see that the scaffolding needs a pillar. Then you're going to run up and keep going. And you're going to make a pillar all the way down one side. Okay, now that you have made scaffolding all the way down one end, now comes the kind of fun part. What you want to do is you want to trace your border with scaffolding, making appropriate pillars wherever you need to. Like right here, say we need a pillar. Put a pillar in. Most of the time, your section will be either square or, you know, following a border or whatever. Just go across and go back, making your scaffolding pillars whenever necessary. Until you make it all the way back to the beginning. If I can stop burning and get rid of the blockage in my way. See, we're just going around making nice little scaffolding pillars. Alright, now that you have made it all the way back around, what I suggest doing is connecting up this, and then somewhere in the middle. Doesn't matter whether it's this block or this block, just somewhere in the middle. Start on 3rd line. This is important because it's just weird scaffolding things. If you want to know more, there's people who are way better than me in explaining the functionality of scaffolding. Just know that you need this middle row in order to not lose a crap ton of scaffolding. So just build this middle row down, and then once you reach the other end, we'll move on to the next part. After that, you should have something that looks like this, with 3 distinct lines going through the middle, with pillars reaching all the way down to the bottom. If I go in free cam, you should see something that looks like this. It's obviously going to look different depending on blocks in the way and, you know, things like this, but should look pretty similar. And now what you're going to do is you are going to fill it in. This is where a client-side mod by Massa called Tweakaroo comes in. There's a setting called fast right-click, which means instead of having to place every single individual scaffolding, or holding it down, or mashing the right-click button if I want to go fast, all I have to do is just turn it on and press it once, and boom! It makes it all the way over the edge. And then what you're going to do is you're going to walk all the way back. And so for me, it's really easy. Obviously, if I didn't have this fast right-click, this would take considerably longer, because I would have to be mashing the button all the time. And then if you have things like this, right, just come over and fill them in. It won't be too big of a deal. So right here is a demonstration that you should make sure that your scaffolding paths are soul sand free. Now that you have your full layer of scaffolding on top, now comes the fun part. You're going to go down. So you're going to find your little home base pillar of sand, and you're going to break it down and place a scaffolding instantly. Now, make sure that you're not holding shift whenever you're placing scaffolding, because if you hold shift, especially with fast place mode on, this happens. See, if I hold shift and then boom, I get giant pillar of scaffolding to the moon. And you'll probably see that sometime. So make sure that you're not holding shift if you want to place scaffolding like below you and in front of you, right? So now that you have scaffolding on this block, what you're going to do is you're going to place scaffolding without holding shift on the layer below you. You should just be able to just right click, and whether you're using fast place or not, you should just slowly work your way out, right? See, if I'm not using fast place, just keep placing it until I'm not placing anymore. And then mine, and then, oh, I can see, you can kind of see that, right? If I zoom in here, this scaffolding is like sitting above this scaffolding. So oh, I need to place scaffolding here, right? So on and so forth. And just kind of work your way down. And then, once you've made it all the way down here, you can see you've got the lowered scaffolding row here. And what you're going to do is do what you did before. You're going to stand here and you're going to place your scaffolding. And then since I have fast place mode on, it's automatically filling in the entire layer. Or if I don't have fast place mode on, just sit here and mash until I'm not placing anymore. Right? But I prefer fast place mode because my wrist wouldn't hate me. And boom, just like that, you have made a whole nother layer of scaffolding beneath your first one. And then what I recommend doing is I would suggest breaking this layer and collecting it all, and then just repeat the process. So usually what I do is I'll break the scaffolding layer like this. I'll just go down, just weaving back and forth. Is there a region of scaffolding near the edge or something to put it down? Like, what do you mean? No, you just have to click on the scaffolding. Like, I can click on this pixel. Boom. It literally does not matter where you, as long as you're not holding shift, just click on the scaffolding block and you will place the scaffolding. Oh, and then this is our little janky area. Yeah, once again, if you have an area like this, just make sure before you break the layer on top that you can just literally click anywhere, right? Click anywhere on it, and whichever direction you are facing, it'll place a scaffolding block. So if I do a little bit of a demonstration here, put a scaffolding by holding shift, I'm able to place a scaffolding on top. And then, since I'm looking in this direction, boom. It doesn't matter if I even click on this side of the block. It has everything to do with player direction. See, even if I'm on the rightmost pixel of the block, I can't place it this way. But as soon as I turn this way, boom, I can place scaffolding. Like that. And then if I turn all the way around, even if I place it on this side, right, well technically I'm facing to the left now. But even if I place it on the leftmost pixel, it still goes that way. That's how you can make sure that you're placing scaffolding in the right direction. Why, other than shift, does it go up instead? Shift is the only way to make it go up. And then we're going to come back over to home base, break the scaffolding, mine it down, and place the scaffolding. You successfully went down the next layer. But yeah, if you're not careful with where you're placing your scaffolding, you can accidentally build a pillar to the sky. You know, yeet. Especially with fast right click. So you need to be diligent about making sure that you're placing your scaffolding on where you're walking instead of on in front of you to avoid building a pillar to the sky. Also, something that might happen, especially with weird structured areas like this, is you notice that I was breaking over here. Maybe I'll play the little short clip. And this scaffolding right here disappeared. That means that there's not a pillar within 8 blocks for this scaffolding to connect to. So all you have to do is just make a new pillar, and all will be solved. And that's pretty much it. You're just gonna keep going and going until you get to the bottom. And then once you get to the bottom, you can start having blocks in the way. But at that point, you just need to make sure that you're placing scaffolding on the layer below you're working at. All right, now that you're kind of down at the bottom, you notice, hey, there's no more sand beneath this. Well, now it means you're basically done. So you can start breaking it, and then wait a minute, there's still lava here. Well, now you get to sort of wing it, as I like to say. So what I do is usually, if there's no scaffolding here, right? Let's say it's just lava here, right? As I set myself on fire. One thing you can do is just see if you can put a scaffolding here. Let's say it's too deep. Well, I can't place scaffolding here. Simple problem. Just mine one block down, and now you can put scaffolding. And then you can basically start going from this side. Right? You don't have to start on the same side, especially at at this point. You can just pick whatever side you want to be your next layer down, right? Start that way and then start mining away. As you're working, you will notice that the area that you're dealing with gets darker and darker and darker because you're removing all the light sources. So areas over here, right? You'll see, oh wow, it's dark. So what I like to do is I usually like to kind of peer through and I can kind of see there's lava there, right? So maybe I'll do this here and then let me just get rid of that real quick. And I'll sort of create a little separation area and then I can clean up 2 layers at once. Just like this. And there's no lava because it's dark. And, you know, I can tell that there's no lava here. And then once you know that you've got everything, it should be super dark like that. And then, well, all the lava's gone, which means mine the scaffolding and collect it all, and congratulations, you have successfully drained 1 section. And there you have it. 1 lava-free section. And then you just start the next one. Which usually involves me putting all my scaffolding away, grabbing more sand, and sectioning off the next one. But since it's the edge, we can just jump right into this one. But yeah, hope you guys learned how to use scaffolding for large-scale projects. It's pretty straightforward. Also, a couple other tips that I should mention at the end if you stayed and watched the whole thing. Lowering your render distance helps prevent gas from spawning in the nether. I am currently at a 5 render distance right now. I would be at a 2 render distance, but then I don't get the speed beacon buff, which I also do recommend if you're doing this. I do recommend having a speed beacon. But if you're not, then you can crank your render distance all the way down to 2, and you will get almost no gas spawns. And yeah, other than that, try it out for yourself. Once again, with all new things, it takes practice to kind of understand the ins and outs of this. I've been doing this method for quite a bit, so I kind of have a pretty good grasp on it. But as you go along, you'll learn little tidbits, and maybe you can even make a video on how to improve this method. But yeah, hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.